balloon doctors.
Wow.
That means it's successful. Meaning it has a lot of females. Just a female, so it means it has lived for successful life.
The best way to get into ketosis fast. Man, this is one question that comes up way too often. And this question demonstrates just how conflicted and confused so many people get looking at all this crazy nonsense information about keto. So our job here is to make it as simple and straightforward as possible. That's what we do in our Keto Collective community coaching. The June session is starting on June 3rd, which is in about 1 week. So we've got about 5 days left to sign up for that. That's gonna be really awesome. The last session in April is why we weren't on YouTube or Instagram. We weren't on YouTube Live at all for the last few months, or Instagram Live much at all. We were putting all of our energy into the Keto Collective, where we actually do live coaching sessions several times a week with a group setting where people are learning from others' individual contexts. Our goal with this is to first of all be able to handle the amount of client requests that we get every month, and second of all, to be able to share your experiences with other people, because so many people want accountability, right? But also, the community aspect of it is really fun because, let's face it, a lot of us get into stuff like keto and we're the only people in our immediate social circles who know what the heck it is, right? Like, you might be doing keto and you're the only one in your family, so it can be nice to have that support and to learn from other people's contexts and to keep each other accountable. So it was really, really fun. We worked with about 30 people in April, and we're gonna cap it at 50 this month. We're about 30% full, so there's another week to enroll. And we haven't really advertised it much because we've been so busy the last few months, but we're really excited for the June Keto Collective session. Anyways, how do I get into ketosis fast? This is one of the most misleading questions out there. You know why? Because in order to ask this question, you gotta be assuming that the goal is to have more blood ketones, right? So first of all, why are you doing a ketogenic diet? Are you doing a ketogenic diet just to chase ketones? Are you doing it just to have high blood ketones? There are contexts where you would want more blood ketones in cases such as epilepsy. As an adjunct therapy for cancer, ketones might be relevant, but if you're doing it for fat loss, if you're doing it for a simple, straightforward diet that you can maintain long term and enjoy for perhaps the rest of your life, if you enjoy eating fatty, salty foods, if you like getting down on the steak every day, if you dig eating eggs all the time, then keto might be a lifestyle choice for you. But chasing ketones all the time is not necessarily going to be relevant in all cases. So I'll be the first to tell you, chasing ketones is not going to give you the results you want if you're going for fat loss. Alright, so when you first start a ketogenic diet, you are going to have higher blood ketones. When you first start keto, you're not able to efficiently use those ketones all the time, and our blood seems to have much higher ketone levels. Now, does that mean you are more successful? Does having more ketones in your blood mean that you're doing better? Mean that you're going to have less inflammation? Mean that you're going to have better blood sugar stability? Not necessarily. You can artificially raise ketone levels through many different practices. The most common way we would get high ketone readings historically would be just starvation, fasting, the deprivation of food. We go through seasonal cycles of food availability. You don't always have high carbohydrate foods available unless you live right on the equator. Shoot, I live on the equator and I still do a ketogenic diet because I love how it makes me feel. But seasonally, we would be used to carbohydrate restriction and even feast-famine cycles of food. For that reason, the most common way we get into ketosis is starvation and fasting. So the fastest way to get into ketosis is you just don't eat. It's not taking a bunch of expensive exogenous ketones that are gonna cost you $5 per pop and then try to bait you into joining the cult, the MLM cult of selling these to all your friends and family and ripping them off with all their money. You don't need to be chasing ketones through drinking a bunch of MCT oil or eating as much butter and coconut oil as you can if your goal is fat loss. So most of the people out there doing keto right now are doing it for body composition changes and for fat loss. Now, in that context, high blood ketones does not correlate with more fat loss. Think about this, guys. So when you first start out keto, more ketones in the blood. You're not using them as well. They're just flowing through the blood. Your body's breaking down fatty acids from either the diet or from your body, but your mitochondria haven't ramped up the production. Your body hasn't ramped up the production of mitochondria. You haven't created all the mitochondria that you need to actually burn these ketones, to actually use them for energy. And in the beginning, your muscles will actually be using ketones for energy, but as you get adapted to burning fat for your main source of fuel, your muscles will start oxidizing fatty acids directly rather than having to convert them into ketones in the liver. So, ketones don't mean fat loss. In fact, you could eat a whole bunch of MCT oil and halt your fat loss by elevating your blood ketones, because higher blood ketones means that your body is going to stop breaking down fatty acids because it will perceive an energy surplus in the blood, right? So we don't need to chase ketones. When I work with clients, when we work with the Keto Collective, at no point do we tell people, you gotta measure your ketones every day. You gotta measure your ketones all the time. The ketones are the measure of your success. In fact, we help wean people off of these unhealthy fixations on ketone levels and help people to get perspective on how to formulate a good diet and a good lifestyle that isn't overcomplicated. You don't need to be pricking your finger and sacrificing your precious blood to these little gigapet looking things every day. Okay? So, the fastest way to get into ketosis is just not eating. But, why do you want to be in ketosis? What's the point? So there's a bunch of different contexts in which people will be using keto, and we've got to consider that context when formulating a diet. So remember, on a ketogenic diet, protein is there for satiety. Protein is required. We all got minimum protein requirements. It is the cornerstone of your meals. Carbohydrates will stay low, and fat is the energy source. So the fat we burn can come from our body or it can come from the plate, and it's up to us to decide which one we want to burn. Fat from the belly or fat from our plate. It's all about context. Don't get caught up in chasing ketones, wasting precious time and energy, and getting frustrated measuring the wrong things. More ketones doesn't mean more fat loss. If you're on a carbohydrate-based diet, when you're burning glucose, do you measure your blood glucose and consider high blood glucose levels to be an indicator of metabolic health when you're burning glucose? No. There's a narrow bandwidth of energy that our body will keep in the blood at any given time. Anything over that will be perceived as excess and is not going to benefit us necessarily. So more ketones doesn't mean more fat loss. More ketones doesn't mean more results. And more checking ketones often means more confusion, more frustration, and less money in your pocket. So anyways, if you want to get down on the Keto Collective for June, we are starting in 1 week. This is the last week to enroll, so hit us up at primaledgehealth.com and join in on the community live coaching for June. It's going to be so much fun. We've got a bunch of awesome people joining us already. I think we've got about 15 people so far, and we can handle a maximum of about 30 more. So last week to sign up for the Keto Collective June. It's going to be awesome. Keep it in context.
Landed in the same